Bonjour, this is book 5. We are planning to do one whole research, experimental research. So, planning experimental research in language studies, essential steps, variables, and control groups. Introduction. Experimental research in language studies helps us understand how people learn, use, and understand language. Unlike descriptive studies, experimental research involves changing certain conditions to see how they affect language behavior. For example, we might change the type of teaching method to see how it impacts vocabulary learning. To get accurate and meaningful results, experimental research must be carefully planned. This includes defining the research question, selecting the right participants, choosing variables, and using control groups. Let us look at each step and understand how variables and control groups play an important role. Essential steps in planning and experimental study. First step is identify the research problem and objectives. Start with a clear research question or hypothesis. Focus on a specific area of language like pronunciation, grammar learning, or bilingualism. Example, does listening to native French speakers improve the listening skills of second language learners? 2. Conduct a literature review. Read existing research to understand what is already known. Find gaps or problems that your research can address. Learn from past studies and their methods. Define variables. Variables are the core elements that shape an experiment. Independent variable, what the researcher changes. Example, type of listening material, native versus non-native speaker. Dependent variable, what is measured as a result. Example, improvement in students' listening scores. Controlled variables, things that stay the same to avoid confusion. Example, students' age, language level, classroom environment. These variables allow researchers to see cause and effect, to see the cause and effect. 4. Select participants and sampling strategy. Decide who will take part. Beginners in French, bilingual children. Choose how to select participants. Random sampling, everyone has an equal chance. Stratified sampling, participants are divided by groups like skill or age or skill level. Convenient sampling, choosing people who are easy to access. Make sure the number of participants is enough for the results to be meaningful. Design. Design experimental procedures. Plan how the experiment will be done. Set the duration, steps and tools, tests, recordings. Common methods include priming, how one word affects understanding of the next. Eye tracking, to study reading the word recognition. ERP studies, to measure brain activity during language tasks. Intervention studies, to test new teaching methods. Establish control and experimental groups. This is a key part of any good experiment. Experimental group receives the new treatment. Control group does not receive the treatment or uses the old method. Why control groups matter? They help show if changes are caused by the treatment, not by outside factors. Example, experimental group, learners use native French audio. Control group, learners do not get extra audio input. Choose data collection methods. Use quantitative methods like choose seventh word. Choose data collection methods. Use quantitative methods like tests and reaction times. Use qualitative methods like interviews or observations. Ensure your tools are reliable. Give consistent results. Valid measure. That is, your tools should be valid. That is, measure what they are supposed to measure. 8. Follow ethical guidelines. Get permission from participants. So follow ethical guidelines. Get permission from participants. Informed consent. Keep their information private. Let them leave the study at any time without penalty. So that is ethical guidelines. Analyze data and interpret results. Use statistical tools like t-tests, ANOVA, or regression to analyze results. Software like SPSS, R, or Excel can help. Compare results with your hypothesis and with past research. Report findings and draw conclusions. Explain the results and what they mean. Mention any limitations. Small sample size. Suggest how future research can improve or expand the topic. The role of variables and control groups. Importance of variables. Variables are the engine of the experiment. They allow researchers to explore cause and effect relationships. Without proper control, other factors might confuse the results. Example, independent variable, use of flashcards versus reading for vocabulary learning. Dependent variable is number of words remembered after 1 week. Control, time spent studying, age, and native language. They are all control variables. Importance of control groups. Control groups provide a baseline to compare the experimental group. They help confirm that the result is due to the independent variable and not something else. Example, experimental group. Students use an AI pronunciation tool. Control group. Students use traditional classroom methods. If the experimental group improves more, we know the tool is effective. Conclusion. Planning an experimental study in language research involves many careful steps. Define your question, choose and managing variables, selecting participants, using proper control groups, collecting and analyzing data ethically. Variables and control groups are essential. They ensure the study is fair, logical, and reliable. When these elements are used correctly, experimental research can give deep insights into how we learn and use language. This can help teachers, learners, and researchers improve language education and understanding. So let us do a case study. Comparing the effectiveness of flashcards versus contextual reading for French vocabulary learning. Background and context. Vocabulary acquisition is a key component in learning a second language. Among the many teaching strategies, two proper methods are flashcards, repetition-based memory tools, contextual reading, reading words within the flow of meaningful texts. This case study.
Learning words within the flow of meaningful texts.
Yeah, learning words within the flow of meaningful texts. So we are going to take flashcards and we are going to do an experiment. We are going to give them text and they are going to read the words within that text and they are going to learn the vocabulary. So who will learn vocabulary faster? This case study investigates which method is more effective in helping beginner level French learners retain and recall new vocabulary. We are trying to help beginner level French learners. So everyone who is involved in this research are all beginner level French learners. So what is a research problem? Which method leads to better vocabulary acquisition? Is it using flashcards or is it learning through contextual reading? So the research objectives are to compare the impact of flashcards and contextual reading on vocabulary learning, to assess vocabulary retention after a 2-week learning period, to provide practical teaching recommendations for beginner French learners. So we want to give recommendations for teaching beginner French learners. Which is better? Is flashcards better or is contextual reading better? That is my objective. I want to give an advice at the end. So, what is the hypothesis? Learners who study vocabulary using contextual reading will demonstrate higher long term retention than those who use flashcards due to richer cognitive engagement. So, that is basically the hypothesis. The contextual reading is better. Methodology. So, what are we doing? Participants, 30 beginner French learners are taken, A1 level. They are between 17 and 22 years, studying in a university language program. Randomly divided into Group A flashcards group, Group B contextual reading group. 15 learners flashcards, 15 learners contextual reading. Independent variable, the method of vocabulary learning, that is how many words will they learn. Group A use flashcards with words and meanings. Group B read short French stories with target words embedded in the context. So, dependent variable, vocabulary test scores, immediate recall and delayed recall after 2 weeks. We have to find the test scores. Controlled variables. So, same set of 30 new French vocabulary words. Same, we are not going to change the words. Same total time spent learning, 45 minutes per session every day, 45 minutes into 4 sessions. Same difficulty level and thematic relevance. So everyone has the same kind of life, food, family, everything simple. Just a normal French beginner. We're just taking them. That is a control variables. Procedure. Pre-test. All learners took a vocabulary test to ensure they didn't already know all the 30 selected words. 2. Learning phase, first week. Group A flashcards. Studied words using digital flashcards with English translation. Group B reading. Read 4 short French stories with 30 new words highlighted and used in context. Immediate post test. At the end of the week, both groups took a vocabulary recall test. 4. Delayed post test. 2 weeks later, another test was given to assess long-term retention. So, only 1 week they taught. The second week they didn't teach anything. So, but the test was taken after 2 weeks also. Tools and materials. Flashcard app, that is Quizlet. Custom designed French reading passages. Vocabulary tests, multiple choice and fill in the blanks. Google Forms for post test. Excel Google Sheets for score analysis. Results. Group A, 84%. That is the flashcards group. Then the delayed test is 66%. They got only 18% retention rate. Group B, that is reading stories, 76% they got immediate test. After 2 weeks, they got 72%. And the retention rate is only minus 4%. So basically 72%, they still got 72%. So the retention rate is 18%. They were not able to retain. 84 marks they got, 66 marks it fell down. The retention rate is not good. 76 marks they got. They don't remember much. They got only they got, even then they got 72 marks. Their retention is good. So group A scored higher immediately, but group B retained more vocabulary over time. Statistical analysis paired t-test revealed group B's improvement was statistically significant. P is less than 0.05. So a discussion. Flashcards helped learners memorize quickly, but some words were forgotten after 2 weeks. Contextual reading encouraged deeper mental processing, aiding long-term retention. Group B learners said they could visualize the usage of words better and enjoyed the learning process more. Learner quote from Group B. I did not just learn the word fromage. I remember the story where the character shared cheese at a picnic. So, 10th point, ethical considerations. Informed consent obtained from all participants, no harm or stress involved, anonymity and the right to withdraw respected. Both groups received access to all materials after the experiment for equal learning benefit. Conclusion: this case study highlights the importance of meaningful context in vocabulary acquisition. While flashcards are effective for short term memorization, contextual reading promotes long term retention and learner engagement. So, implications for teaching: use flashcards for revision for rapid learning, integrate story based or situational reading tasks for deeper learning, combine both methods in a hybrid model for best results, encourage learners to create their own sentences using new vocabulary.